Christian parenting.
No, I am not saying that your children are wild animals, even if sometimes the house seems a little bit crazy. I am using the term domesticate your children. We're using it in a metaphorical definition when it comes to the word domesticate. They are not wild animals that we need to try to train to live within our home. This is an important topic that I'm going to share with you today because I have seen its usefulness in my adult children. And this might not be a popular thing to say, but I can see the difference between adults, young adults, teens and young adults, we'll say, that have been, in air quotes, metaphorically domesticated from kids that have not. I can see a big difference between homeschool children and public school children. Sorry, not sorry. It's true. It does not mean that all homeschool kids have been metaphorically domesticated and have done it well. And it doesn't mean that all public school kids have not. There is just a natural bent. Some kids are going to want to know more about how a household and a home functions, and others are not. But when it comes to homeschool, you have this prime opportunity. You have the time. And that's where the great divide, the great chasm happens between the homeschool kids and the kids that are in public and private school, because most of their days of that latter group is spent away from the family. The kids that are home educated, your children, they get to participate on a day in and day out way of seeing how a household runs. They have a front row seat. They get to see you figure out new systems and how to do things, and you get to include them. So right now, I am going to tell you that you have to domesticate your homeschool children. It will give them such a leg up in life, not just for a future job, a future career. It will also just help them in their personal relationships with friends and people at the homes that they go to and those that they interact with. It will also, I promise you, it will give them, they will have such a greater place to stand upon and a place to launch from when they have their own home and their own family. And that is why you need to do this, because you are setting them up for their future. It might be hard right now, but I'm going to tell you that it is worth it. And I have clearly seen the difference in the kids that have been poured into in this area and the ones that have not. And these are now young adults. They are Gen Z that are out there in the world, and I can see the difference. And I want your kids to be among that group that is just feels comfortable within a home and knows how to run it and knows how to do all the little things. They might not be good at it, they might not like it, but they know that it's important. Let's get into it now. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast. I am your host, Lee Nguyen, and I am so glad that you are here with me today. I am a mom who has homeschooled her 3 children. I didn't always start out as a homeschool mom. I put my kids in a public school because I went to public school, and that's just what you do. And after a couple years, brought them home and started out homeschooling with a 3rd grader, a 1st grader, and a preschooler that would roll in and out of the room and preferred to play with his Legos. And that preschooler, guess what? He is now graduated. He towers over me at 6 foot something, who knows what. And I think he keeps growing, and he is now launched and done with his homeschool. And I will share here in a few months his next plans, because hint, hint, he is headed out on his gap year, and it is going to be bittersweet for me, and it's going to be really good for him. So I promise to share more as we get into that, but let's talk about this topic today now. What do I mean when I say domesticate? Again, let's go back to the introduction there, and I said we are speaking metaphorically about this. Your kids, they're not a wild animal that is untamed that needs to learn how to not kill the people that it's living with. That's definitely not, hopefully, the scenario that is within your home. What I mean by domesticate is those domestic chores, the things that keep a household running. And I think it's really important. We can often just say, okay, we need to do the math and the reading and their science, and he needs to get ready for his SATs, and she needs this, and get so focused on that we keep them in this tunnel of home education, of school, that we don't actually create a child, a young person that can walk out into the world and can function well. And I have said this before, if you create a homeschool graduate that is top of any class anywhere, they have a perfect SAT score and who knows, all the things, and they have gotten a full ride to some amazing college, but they don't know how to make their bed, they don't know how to live within a family, they don't know how to treat others well, they don't know how to take care of things. Now, I'm not saying every kid can take care of all kinds of things. My youngest can take apart a car and put it back together. I'm like, that's great. I can put gas into my car and I can tell you if my tire looks like it's low or certain lights come out of my car. But I can make some really great meals and I can help keep the house functioning and running, and I can keep systems in place, create systems. We all have the areas that we're going to do really well and excel in, and then the areas that we're just going to kind of struggle. But I think it's still important for them to know. I mean, just think about the fact that you maybe send your daughter out in a car and she's driving, she gets a flat tire and has no idea what to do. No, we teach them how to change a tire. Is it going to be as easy for your 16-year-old daughter to get the tire off? I mean, my daughter is 23 and she was having a hard time, and her 18-year-old brother came over and kind of helped her get the tire off because it was on so tight. But she knows how to change a tire. It might take her a little bit longer, but she'll get that tire changed. That's what I'm talking about, is that they just need to know how to do all these things. And if that knowledge is needed, they'll be able to pull it out. Now, when we moved to New York State from Pennsylvania, I looked over the homeschool regulations, and there was one that puzzled me. And it said in it that they needed to be taught practical arts. And I was like, what in the world is that? I had made a couple of homeschool mom friends, and I remember reaching out and saying, what is practical arts? And she was like, oh, that's like cooking and cleaning, that stuff that you're already doing, and kind of explained. I was like, oh, I did a little more research, and I was like, that actually is what it is. Well, I guess apparently I have been doing practical arts, and we will continue doing practical arts. That was a no-brainer, and I definitely do not need any curriculum for that. So if you're living in the state of New York, understand that if you follow some of these things in this podcast episode, you are meeting your practical arts requirement. And I think it's just maybe the elementary age range, maybe middle school, but it's definitely not in the high school. So don't quote me on that. Again, not legal advice, but that's the information I was given. That's what I went with. That's what I submitted to my school district, and they accepted it. Now, by virtue just of being within your home, some of this domestic duties and the domestic abilities is just going to be caught by them. They are just going to see it happening. And it will depend upon their interest and their maturity, whether maybe they jump in and do those things. They may know, theoretically, how to load a dishwasher, but until you have them start doing that loading of the dishwasher, then they'll really figure out how do things actually best fit in. And, oh, I probably shouldn't put the plastic cups on the bottom. They are supposed to go onto the top, because the next day I came and found that they were melted. I don't know. Maybe they make plastic cups and dishwashers now that don't do that. You can put it wherever you want, but I'm still stuck in that plastic goes on the top. But just by virtue of being in the home, they're going to see some things, but we also need to understand that not everything is going to be caught. They might not be interested in learning how to make a bed well. But you might have a child who is very into decorating their room and keeping it clean and having the bed made. And so they're just interested in doing that. They might just have the maturity to do it as well. Every day, I had made my kids make their beds. And I can tell you right now, out of the 3, there is one that is hypervigilant, and I never would have thought that. Hypervigilant. Bed is made every single day. Another one, it is most days that it is made. And then the last one, it happens pretty well often. It might not happen first thing in the morning. It might happen later in the day. But I'm at the point that I'm like, you guys are old enough, and if your room is a terrible disaster and I don't want to look at it, I can just close the door. It is your space, and they have come to the point where they understand that they can function best in a room, in a bedroom that is more tidy than one that is full of a mess and full of chaos. But it took years and years and years. Let's go with that one who every day the bed is made. Years and years and years of making the bed, of probably having some pushback, of having an attitude, but not a good attitude, a bad attitude about it. Still made this child do it. And now a young adult, and they make their bed every single day. So that is just an example of maturity that has come. And basically this all just comes down to teaching your children how to run a household and teaching them all the different roles. Maybe someday within a household now, I can figure out a lot of kind of mechanical things, but you know what? I don't have to. I can just default to my husband to do the bigger mechanical things, and he could cook if he wants to, but I have taken that role on myself. When I'm gone, he's fully capable of cooking and doing the things he needs to do. If he's not around and a breaker trips or something like that, I can figure it out. I can, maybe chat GPT it or get one of my kids to help me out. But those things, it's just as good to know how to do all of the things, even if someday that isn't going to be their role. Maybe their role someday is that they aren't going to be mowing the lawn. Their spouse really likes to mow the lawn. Or before that, they live with a bunch of friends and they have a lawn that needs to be done. And someone else within that household wants to mow the lawn and they enjoy it. And they let them do that. But if that person's on vacation, then they know how to use the lawnmower and they know how to mow the lawn. Maybe it won't be, stripes and everything that the other person that likes to mow the lawn likes to have, but it still gets done. So I think it's really important to teach them overall how to run a household, everybody's different roles. And then I have just found as my kids have gotten older, all young adults, I just kind of lean in and let them do those different roles and those different tasks that they're really good at. I'm like, go ahead. Listen, I have a 21-year-old who owns his own lawn care company. He can mow the lawn. He actually wants to mow the lawn, and he does a really great job of it every single time. I can certainly mow the lawn. We can all mow the lawn. His younger brother, if the 21-year-old is out of town, the younger brother then is the one that's supposed to do it because apparently I don't stripe very well. And you know what? That's okay. I'm okay admitting that. But that's where he knows how to do this well. So that's one of his things to do. So there's no reason for one or the other of us to go and do it if he wants to do it. So I'm going to give you a list of just some different ways and different things just to kind of get your creative juices going. And I want to add this. These tasks are going to take longer and it's going to be harder to do when you are in the process of teaching a child to do it too. Say you want to teach them how to make a certain meal and they're 8 years old. You might at times feel like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't have the patience to do it. Do it. Just do it. Maybe it's just one meal that you teach and maybe you make that meal every single week or you make that meal every other week or every third week. And on that time that you are making that meal, you have them come in. Just understand, just teach them that one meal and guess what you will have? You will have somebody who can make that meal. Do you want a hint of a meal that's really easy for kids to make? Is tacos. Go ahead and say, you know what? You guys are in charge of Taco Tuesday. My 3 kids, I could say, can you guys help out with dinner with tacos? I'll usually on the weekends because not everybody's usually home during dinner during the week. But I'll say, can you guys do tacos on Saturday night? And you know what will happen? It's usually a Sunday night that everybody's kind of around. Between the 3 of them, tacos can be on the table within 20 minutes because they figured out a system. They know exactly who is good at what and how to get it all done, and dinner is great. But that goes for any and all of these tasks. It's going to take longer. It's going to take longer for you even to make your own bed when your 5-year-old wants to come and help you. But guess what? It is worth the time and the effort. Eventually, you might find that 5-year-old becomes a 15-year-old and loves to make beds and fluffy and making all the pillows and all this stuff, and you get off of having to make your bed. They want to come make your bed with all the foofy pillows and all that stuff. Anyway, okay, so cooking is a really big thing to teach your children. My goal has been my daughter enjoys cooking more, but my boys not as much. But my goal was for them to, I would say leave the home, but like graduate homeschool more so, that they have a couple of meals, a couple of dinners, and breakfast and lunch is kind of easy to do, but a couple of dinners that they can make on their own. This is for kids who aren't really interested in culinary. They don't want to be a chef or anything like that, but there's 2 to 3 meals that are good home-cooked meals that they can shop for, that they can fully prepare on their own, cook and serve on their own. I mean, hello, wouldn't that be a great way to be able to serve other people? And so all of my kids, my daughter can make most anything, but my boys really not interested in cooking, but there's a couple of meals that both of them can make that they don't need me at all. They're fully competent to do so. And I highly recommend that. I have I could go into that one I could probably do a whole episode about that, about the cooking. But let's now move on to cleaning. If you are struggling with cleaning, with chores and that management and how does that look, I want to encourage you to go check out the Tidy Home. That's what we're going to do together, is we're going to create a chore management system that is a rinse and repeat. You don't have to think about what to do. So if you're thinking about some of these household chores, you're like, oh, wait, when are we supposed to do that? I didn't know about that. So for example, in the spring and the fall, I do a good clean out of our garage and our shed. So I say I can pull kids in to do that. I can ask them just to do that. My kids, again, are older. They're all working and really busy. And our shed and garage does not get as messy as it used to when we had kids and all the bikes and all the toys and the basketballs and all those things. They were definitely included when they were of that age with all this stuff. And so when I'm going to say but still, I want you to pull in kids. And that's what we also work on in the Tidy Home, is giving kids responsibility. And how do you give them chores to do that they only get better at it by doing it? And so if you want more information, you can go to littlebylittlehomeschool.com/tidyhome. But as you know, when it comes to cleaning, there is a lot that needs to be cleaned. We've got the kitchen, we've got bathrooms, we've got bedrooms, we've got the laundry to do. We have just common areas. Maybe you have a porch, maybe you have a basement, again, a garage, a shed, all the things. How do you clean all those different things? We clean a toilet, right, differently than we clean the kitchen sink. We're not going to use the same sponges. We're not going to use the same brushes, which you're like, obviously, but that's not obvious to little kids. Like, it's all these little things to teach them. We don't take the brush from the toilet and then go clean even the bathroom sink, and definitely not the kitchen sink. And things like, okay, we were just cooking raw chicken. This is how I want us to clean up from that raw chicken. We're not going to go and just, I don't even want to say what the different possibilities of how we're going to clean it up. That's not going to be very sanitary. But it's all those little things. And there's a lot that comes along with the cleaning, but it's very helpful for them in the future to know how to do those things. And we've got outdoor chores, things like gardening. Maybe you don't even have a garden. Maybe you put it in a garden just so that you can teach your kids some gardening, how to plant seeds, how to water them and to grow them, and how to tend to things. We've got the mowing, and we've got car care. I mean, that can go with how to change a tire. That can go to bigger things. That can just go to something simple like, this is how you wash a car. This is how you vacuum out a car. This is how you wipe down the interior of a car. We have home maintenance. There's things, maybe the filter in your air conditioner and your heating system needs to be changed out. Show them how to do it. Show them how to know exactly which one to use. A lot of just house maintenance. We've had plumbing issues. We've had things, changed out toilets, and it was my husband with all 3 kids as tweens and teens even in the bathroom working on how to change out a toilet so they know how to do that. Things even like budgeting. Let's teach them how to use money well, and let's teach them how to budget for something. Maybe they're saving for something, how to tithe, how to give money to others, and how to be generous. And among all of this, teaching your children initiative. That's the ultimate goal of all of this. You don't do all of this cooking and cleaning and the house maintenance and the car maintenance and the budget and all that kind of stuff. You don't do it because you feel like you do it. You do it because you know that you need to do it. You recognize what needs to happen and you do it. That's called initiative. Let's teach our children initiative. The last part I want to add is knowing how to do these things will help your children with a skill that not many people think of as a skill, but it's the skill of being a good guest. Have you ever had bad guests stay at your house? We all have. We all have had ones that just kind of take more than they give. But what if our children can be the ones who will recognize, maybe they don't clean the place that they're staying. Maybe they're visiting a friend that they had met at camp. So there's mom and dad and other siblings there. And even though maybe they clean up the kitchen differently after dinner, your 20-year-old still steps in and says, how can I help? Or just goes and takes the initiative and helps out. Helps to clear the dishes, helps to wipe the table down, helps me put away some of the leftovers. And even if that all is done or they don't know what to do, everybody's kind of stepping in. They're a great conversationalist. They know how to talk to everybody and to make offers. And what if, tell me, would this not be cool? If, say you have the 20-year-old son and maybe a 19, 20-year-old friend of his comes and stays for a few days. And this young man says, I'd like to make dinner for your family tonight. can you point me to the grocery store, and I'm going to go get all the groceries, and I would like to make dinner. What time would you like dinner to be ready at? And they make dinner. One of the meals my youngest wanted to know how to make was lasagna. I told him you can win anybody over with a good lasagna. And so I taught him how to make a good lasagna. So he's ready. He's ready to come over, to a friend's house and stay and offer to make that meal. But that's just a little aside note there. But just teaching them how to be a good guest, this will help all of these different tasks. But also it will help prepare them for their next steps in life, whether that is sharing an apartment or a home with friends or getting married or living on their own, whatever that next step is for them. Friend, if you enjoy this podcast, I would love to be able to hear about that, and I would love it if you would help me to reach other moms that are homeschooling or thinking about homeschooling, and you can do that right through your podcast app by leaving a rating and a review. A rating is just simply giving it stars, hopefully 5 stars, and a review is actually writing out maybe just a sentence or two. It can be about this specific episode, or it can be about the podcast as a whole in general, and I'm just going to say thank you in advance for doing that. So thank you for listening to this episode, and thank you for leaving a rating and review. Have a beautiful day.